Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at androgenic, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my years of facial analysis experience and years of basement dwelling experience to basically see how closely androgenic compares to the ideal attractiveness in a face and what flaws he has to make him look so uncanny and unnatural looking, especially even from the side profile. I think that even somebody who's not in this niche could probably tell that he does look a little deformed, right? His face does look a little disproportionate. And he looks a bit like a monkey, like a Neanderthal. And we're going to be using actual measurements and proportions in his face to understand why that is the case. Okay. And we're going to be explaining how we could fix those. Not really naturally, but surgically. So through actual cosmetic surgery. And guys, I think that cosmetic surgery shouldn't really be frowned upon. I think that if you do want to change your looks, you shouldn't, buy into this cope that, you could fix things naturally, like mewing and thumb pulling and tongue stretching, like all this cope that I used to do, and showering and just using soap, bro, like thinking that's going to make people perceive me as more attractive. It's all bullshit, guys. I spent 3 to 4 years believing this lie. Only now did I realize that I do actually need some cosmetic work done on my face. I needed to book that trip to Turkey. I don't want you guys to fall into the same trap. At the same time, I don't want you guys believing you need surgery. Really, it's only for genuinely the biggest flaws in your face. Okay, don't do it for something that is barely off the ideal measurement. Do it for the biggest issue with your face. And if you really do believe it's going to make a big difference. Okay, we're going to talk about different procedures in the future. But today's video, we're just going to be focusing on androgenic. So let's highlight all his flaws. So in his front profile, he has a high facial width to height ratio, which means the width of the line going across his face divided by the height of the line going from his upper lip to his mid eyebrow is too high. Okay, it sits at a value of 2.07, where the ideal is 1.9. Okay, so the ideal attractive face has a facial width to height ratio of 1.9, and androgenic is at 2.07. And although this might not look like a big difference numerically, it does make a big change in the real world because this is a proportion, right? It's the ratio of width to height in his mid face. And any little change will definitely skew the way he looks. It will definitely impact his aesthetics. And what it does for him right now is that it makes his face appear wider in the middle than it should be. Picture something like a horizontally stretched out rectangle that's just too much horizontally stretched out. Okay, that's what's going on with his face. And this is better than the inverse, where your face actually collapses inwards and it's very narrow. Picture somebody like Adriana Lima's husband, who has this going on and other major flaws as a byproduct of a bad facial width to height ratio. And having this is very, very unattractive to say the least. So good thing androgenic is on the other side of the spectrum, but it's still not a positive. It is a flaw, of course. And combined with his hypermasculine look, seen with his wider than ideal chin, it definitely gives the overall aesthetic that he is hypermasculine, that he looks like an ogre, like a monkey, like a Neanderthal. If we were to actually take the measurements of his frontal jaw angle, we would get a degree of 80. And ideally, we want to see 90. Okay, and what this means to you guys who don't know, it means that his chin is too wide relative to his jaw, to his bigonians. Okay, we want to see his chin much more narrow compared to his jaw, because right now, this is kind of what it looks like. His jaw and chin is simply too boxy. It looks like a trapezoid, and we don't want a trapezoid this sculpted. Okay, in combination with his bad lips, where if we were to do the measurement and the ratio, we would get a value of 1.2 to 1. It gives us a really weird looking guy because he has all this bone mass combined with his bad soft features like his lips, because the lips are features that are supposed to harmonize and contrast with your heavy bone mass. But if he doesn't have that, it just looks like handsome Squidward. Very unideal. And in case you're wondering, the lower lip height to upper lip height is supposed to be 1.6 to 1. So this is actually the ratio that is most significantly off the ideal of what is considered attractive in his face. It's actually his lips. So he should definitely address that by getting lip filler and maybe bringing it down to even here. And then the last thing I want to touch on is his skinny neck. So he has a neck to bigonian ratio of 88%. So his neck width is 88% of his bigonians. And ideally we want to see 95%. Because right now, what it looks like is a popsicle. Super skinny stick, big boxy head. We don't want that. That's what's making him look unnatural. And then we have the side, which is much worse in my opinion. you can tell that his face is disproportionate with his head. So his skull casing is too narrow compared to how much his face grew. He has like a little kid's skull and then an adult's face. And this is really disproportionate because probably he abused steroids in his late teens, which I believe is open about. But what that means is that your skull casing is fused, but the bones in your face could still grow. So all of this is going to go forward while this remains constant size. So you're going to get a skull that's too small for your face. And that's exactly what's going on here. His back of the head is also too flat. His neurocranium is too flat. And we're actually going to morph this. We're going to widen this there to see how it would look. This you can't change surgically. You can wear a wig, which he already does, to give the illusion that the back of your head is bigger than it actually is. Next flaw he has is his forehead incline. So it's too declined compared to the horizontal. We have a degree of 55 when ideally we should have a degree of 65 to 80. Okay, so we want, to see something maybe even there, and we're going to morph this as well. We're going to actually do these changes to his face to show you guys exactly how much he changes. Even from 10 degrees, okay, even 10 degrees, huge difference. Like I said initially, a few decimals make a big difference, a few degrees make a big difference. And then lastly, we have his mandible projection. Okay, his mandible is too long, his chin is too long. It has a bad shape. Ideally, we would want to reshape his chin using a genioplasty or cut some of it off altogether to bring that back inwards. And one thing to keep in mind, guys, if you do want to do that, the skin here will start to sag because the skin has nothing to hold on. It has nothing tight to hold on anymore. So it's going to follow gravity now and sag downwards. So that's going to increase his hyoid sag. Hyoid sag is the skin we see below here. So that's going to follow gravity and go downwards if we were to reshape his chin. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And then of course, if we were to address the lip issue, his lips, which are a flaw from the side as well, would also be a bit taller, the lower one. So let's actually get to morphing all this now, okay? Because this is where you guys are going to see the real change of what surgery can accomplish. So first, let's do the things he can change naturally. So the forehead can be improved through forehead implants. We could see that even changing it just a bit makes a huge difference. Even if we just isolate his forehead, it doesn't look like a monkey as much. Maybe I'll put a picture on screen so you guys know what I'm talking about. But that is going to be the first fix. Then, of course, we have the jaw. So let's make our brush smaller. Maybe like this. Let's also reduce his hyoid sag, maybe widen his neck a bit. And then let's try to give him what a genioplasty would give him, where we basically remove some length from his mandible. Okay. I'm not the best at morphing, but you guys can understand that there is an improvement here. Maybe I did too much, or an after. The flaws really come to light when you start morphing people and compare the before and after. Huge differences. And then lastly, of course, the unnatural thing, which I'll show you guys just to caution you with abusing certain chemicals, is his neurocranium. So let's widen that a bit. And bam, there we go, guys. This is Androgenic's ascension. So we basically highlighted all his flaws. We thought of surgeries to fix those flaws, and now we are viewing the results. Just by this alone, just even without the neurocranium fix, just by this alone, I think Androgenic went up on the look scale at least 1 to 1.5 points, potentially even 2. I think he will definitely have a lot more appeal, and I think he looks a lot more natural now. And guys, this is just one example of how we can analyze the measurements of a person's face and use that to approach us to the ideal measurements and how we could use surgery to actually achieve that. So that's it for today, guys. I know this looks very extreme. I know that I may look like a mental clinic patient with all these scribbles and ramblings, but this is a real thing, guys. Facial attractiveness can be measured, and it is what we just did. And by measuring it, we can address the flaws in our face. And this is my first video, guys, so I would benefit from any comments, any likes, any subscribers. That would definitely be appreciated. If you guys could let me know how my setup is and if you would like to see any future videos, then definitely let me know down in the comments below. But hopefully you guys learned something from this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.